What is up, guys? It's Chaos Reviews here. Guys, gentlemen, and Super Saiyans, whoever is watching, this is going to be my review for Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 1, the premiere episode for this season. So let's talk about it. Let's see what you guys think. Tell you what I think. So, this episode picks up off of that god-awful season finale. I did not like that season finale whatsoever. The cameraman died last season. It was pretty tragic, I'll give it that. But, so, right before this episode, I kind of recorded a video. I didn't get to put it up in time. I probably won't put it up. But it was my guess of who was going to die. Spoiler warning right now for anybody who hasn't seen the episode. You should probably go watch it first. So that being said, I'm going to tell you right now who I thought. And I got 2 out of 3. The first person I said who was going to die was Glenn. He was my number one choice. Here's why. Obviously, he dies in the graphic novel, which I follow quite heavily. I own them all. I read them all. And not just of the fact that he has to die because he dies in the book. I don't mind with a show or movie varying from a book as long as it's done good and well and properly and makes sense kind of thing. So I'm not like one of those people that like, oh, like that's not what happened in like Batman kind of thing or whatever. Full Metal Alchemist did a decent job at having 2 different things. That's an anime and a manga. So, the other reason I think he had to die was in the book, Maggie's character, who she becomes, how her character and her story develops, is heavily related to his death. And I find Maggie would be a very boring character that would be very hard to push forward and like develop if Glenn was still alive. I'm sure they could probably find some way, but they'd really have to work and like it's gonna add a whole new level of like grief and like whatever and like her becoming strong and independent and whatever kind of have you. So that's kind of my reason I picked Glenn as my number one choice. My number 2 and 3 I flip flopped back and forth. At first I had Abraham as number 2. I had him as number 2 because he dies fairly soon in the book after this, and he's not too impactful of a character on the show too much or in the book up to this point. Like he kind of was Rick's right hand after Tyrese's incident in the book and stuff like that, but I was thinking he was a character that could get away with killing without pissing off too many people if they wanted to go and like kind of like pussyfoot around that kind of an audience kind of thing. But that being said, he that's kind of like my choice of why I thought he was gonna be number 2. But then I ended up moving him down to 3. The number 2 choice I picked was Daryl, actually, Norman Reedus. And like the reason I thought he might die in this episode was mainly due to the fact last season he had a lot of conflict of time scheduling and stuff like that with his filming, because he's gotten fairly popular, obviously, from The Walking Dead. A lot of people love him, a lot of the girls love him and stuff like that. So he's got his motorbike show. He's been on some movies, done some video game work too. So he's been fairly busy. And on some of the later episodes of last season, he wasn't available as much, and there was a conflict in the scheduling. So some episodes he wasn't on there at all, or very minimal, and that's why. So I figured if like there was going to be a breach of a kind of a contract or whatever kind of interest there, they might just have to part ways with them in that sense, and then would be the time to do it with this big shock factor kind of thing. And like Daryl's not a real character in the comic books, which is interesting. He applied to play the role of Merle, I think it was. Was it Merle? I think it was Merle is who he auditioned for originally. Again, which isn't a real character either, technically speaking. But this is a prime example of what I said earlier. You don't have to do exactly what a book does to do it good. They did Daryl and Merle's character quite well, so I'm okay with having a couple characters that aren't really characters from The Walking Dead. That's cool. But yeah, he didn't get it, but they liked him so well they created this Daryl character. That's how his character became. So that's why I thought he might be number two. And my number one was right. My number three was right. Number two could still be right. He's kind of kidnapped right now. So, um, how they shot this like episode and showing it took a little while to show like who it was. Negan drug Rick out into the RV. Looked like he was gonna get his arm cut off. Rick, spoiler, does lose an arm or wrist down in the book. I think it's his right one. I think by the governor. The governor chops it off. So in the show, they've done that before, where they didn't do something that happened in the book, but later on, kind of threw it in there. Like Carl getting his eye shot happened way earlier in the book. It happened in the prison with one of the prison guards they found. And they just did it now to kind of catch it up. So I was thinking maybe Rick gets his arm cut off now. He still might kind of thing if he kind of rebels or something and he wants to teach him a lesson. I'm not really sure. But there's a lot of arm teasing there. And then he almost had to cut Carl's off, which was completely savage. And I was like, is this actually going to happen? But so he takes him out there. Rick has a little flashback from his perspective. And it was, it was pretty gut-wrenching seeing like Andrew Lincoln did such a good job. You see him completely broken. His mental state is just shattered. He's got that gross Rick wet hair that's going on like he's ran 50 miles. Snot dripping out of his nose. His eyelids are just like deprived of sleep. Well, I think they technically are. I think when they first got captured, it was nighttime and it was day near the beginning of this episode or whatever. It's kind of weird, but yeah, he made you feel his fear and how broken and helpless he was. He just witnessed some of his best friends get literally smushed in front of him by a crazy man cracking some crazy jokes. Did a good job with Negan there. The vampire bat joke. Ugh, I actually laughed out loud at that. That was pretty good. Like Negan's like that. So he hit the nail on the head. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan at first, but he's doing a pretty good job. The scrambled egg thing, just so much ill humor Negan has. But yeah, back to Rick. Crazy good acting there. Same with Glenn. When he gets hit in the head, his eye kind of pops out. I'm surprised they showed as long as they did. They almost like still framed it, like showing like him struggling. He actually does talk to Maggie. It's just really heart-wrenching seeing that happen, obviously, but they really did it almost kind of word for word from the book, and because the book, his death is just as brutal. Like it gets crushed. There's spaghetti for brains on the ground, teeth all over the place, and his eyeball, and Negan making fun of him, trying to talk, and his eye popping out, stuff like that. It's kind of interesting and good in a way that they killed Abraham the way they did off, because he goes out on like a really strong hoorah kind of note, like how Abraham would, because he's kind of like a husky muscle kind of dude. Takes the shot from Lucille on the top of the head, and he tells Negan to suck his nuts, and Negan just kind of laughs and is like, "Whoa, this guy is hilarious." Because Abraham in the book, he dies shortly after this. I think when him and Rick are out getting ammo or something in the street somewheres, or I can't remember exactly. He gets shot, I know that, but he was going to turn against Rick, it looked like, as Rosita in the book was filling his head with he should be the leader, Rick's terrible, and he started to get this like almost like an alter ego. He was kind of losing his cool, and I think something was going to happen there. So you almost start to dislike Negan, or Abraham, sorry, if you're like a Rick fan and stuff like that. So killing him off this way, he retains a lot of like honor and stuff like that, whereas if he was looking like he might go against the group, people might not like him as much, kind of thing. So that's an interesting perspective to take on that. The makeup crew did crazy work on the Glenn face, the dead bodies, obviously. The zombies looked really good. When Rick's hanging off that zombie that was hung over the bridge, and he, like his neck rips and stuff. Woo! There was a lot of craziness going on in this episode. The fog created a Just a really tense kind of scene. Very suspenseful. Yeah, the acting overall was crazy. I don't know what's gonna happen with Daryl now. If he's gonna get axed or like they might try and save him, but how do you try and save him? The saviors are not really people you want to screw with. Um, it was a crazy episode. It had everything you needed in it. Some humor, crazy gore, I guess, um, and just heartful emotions. Like that whole picnic scene was really gut wrenching. Maggie and them, obviously, Rosita, all of them seeing like Abraham die as well. Like it was a sad episode, and like Rick almost happened to cut his own son's arm off, or else he kills everybody in the process of not. It was crazy. One thing I want to ask you guys is, after I watched the episode, I went on Facebook and I seen a lot of people on there just kind of like ripping up the episode for being too violent or human on human violence, or they ruined the show. They committed television suicide. I don't understand where these people are coming from because The Walking Dead, the premise it resides from is the people are the Walking Dead, and the zombies are just kind of there. Yeah, they're a factor of how they could die, but in general, the people are the problem. They are the hugest threat in this crisis, and that's why Rick doesn't trust them. And this is building and showing exactly why Rick does not trust people. The governor was a huge like kind of thing on the show. He ended up killing Herschel and stuff like that. It's not exactly how it happened in the book, but he ends up cutting off Rick's arm and stuff in the book. Rick learns earlier on in the book how bad people are. He kind of knows that in the show. We've seen that before, him not trust people, but this just puts it to a whole new level. Yeah, it was gory, but it's a zombie apocalypse. There's guts been ripped out all seasons long. There's Herschel getting decapitated in front of like a bunch of people. The people getting eaten on top of people right in front of a dumpster, and you think he's dead already. Like, I just don't understand where that perspective's coming from. I thought the episode was pretty good though. Some of the music was a little out of place at one point. Other of the music was decent, but that's kind of my opinion on it. I want to know what everybody else is thinking. If you like this channel and you like what I'm going to be doing, drop me a like, maybe subscribe. I will be doing lots of content on this channel from here on out, doing manga reviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, anime reviews, just like all kinds of stuff like that. A TV show I might review. I got one episode left. It's pretty interesting, although I hope they don't pull a Lost on me. Is The Leftovers. It's an HBO series. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on it. It's a really interesting series. I got the latest volume of Walking Dead to read, and then I will go over that if people want to see episode 24, 25. I'm not sure what volume that is. Whichever it is, I might review that. But yeah, other than that, pretty good episode. Not perfect. Nothing's perfect though, but a lot better than that season finale. And I think it just, it made everybody respect a lot more. A lot of the characters that died, and stuff like that. It was crazy. It was definitely a heartfelt episode that made everybody sad, but that's what it is, and that's what the show is going to be about, I guess. Don't watch Game of Thrones if you don't like characters dying, right? Anyways, chaos out. Thanks. Like, comment, subscribe if you like it.